So Shana Tova, everybody. I tell you, it's great to be here. It's great to see all of you. You may know, may not know, I'm no longer the new rabbi. I decided this year, that was it, I'm done. The reason for that is because this is now my 10th High Holidays with us. I know, it went fast, didn't it? But it has been an absolute joy, honor, pleasure, privilege to be a part of all of your lives for so long, and it's so good to see you. If we haven't gotten to know each other, we should. Let's make time for coffee or something to sit together. It's my favorite part of what I do. So, just to tell you a little bit about my process, I write a High Holiday sermon in June, I write one in July, I write one in August. September I read them and I decide they're terrible. I throw them out and I write new ones, which I determine are worse than the first ones. And then 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago at this time, I gave a sermon and a number of people in the congregation came up to me and said, "That's a High Holiday sermon." Duh! Oh, I hate when that happens. So I decided that I did like the introduction of that sermon and I wanted to share it with more of you. The problem that I had when I gave this sermon the first time was I actually left out the punchline. We were having so much fun because Shabbos morning is a lot of fun here. We were having so much fun that I left off the key sentence in it. So this is how it went. There's a comedian named Gary Goldman. Gary Goldman's a very funny, very smart comedian. And he is bothered by the fact that Greece had become bankrupt. He couldn't understand that a country that had given so much to the world, all the great achievements of Greece, how could it have possibly fallen so far? He points out how this astonishing tiny country gave the world philosophy, mathematics, democracy, theater, plumbing, and even the Olympics. And he concludes that the reason why they've fallen so far is because they haven't given us anything in the last 2,000 years. Except salad. He goes on to say, not to take anything away from Greek salad, it's delicious. Kalamata olives, tomatoes, cucumbers, green bell peppers, red onions. You should know this was originally going to be a High Holiday Yom Kippur sermon. Feta cheese, olive oil, dried oregano. Wow. But come on, how is it possible? And then he ends with, and this is what I left off, hope the yogurt thing works out. The joke lands because of the absurd contrast. On one side, ancient Greece's breathtaking achievements, and on the other, our own trivialities. And it made me think, we Jews are often put in the same category. It's a version of what have you done for me lately? We're praised and we're judged based on our contributions. Look at all the great things the Jews have given the world, from Einstein to Freud, from Leonard Bernstein to Jonas Salk, from the concept of ethical monotheism to the invention of instant coffee and blue jeans. But don't get me wrong, we have contributed, and in many ways the contributions we have made are extraordinary and enduring. But here's the problem. Why do we need to prove our right to exist by listing our achievements? Do we really need to justify our people and Israel's right to exist because Israel sends doctors to disaster zones or because they create miracle drugs? The Torah teaches us something profound. Existence itself is sacred. You don't have to earn it. So whether you take away a message of nationality or identity from this sermon, or you take away something personal and private and individual for yourself, your life, our lives are sacred, and we don't have to earn our place to be here. This morning's Torah reading from Genesis 21 places us right in the middle of an extraordinarily tense moment. Sarah sees Ishmael, the son of Hagar, playing with Isaac, and she demands that Abraham cast the boy out and his mother in what I believe are the 5 most cruel words in all of Torah: Garesh ha'amah hazot ve'et bana. Cast away this slave woman and her son. So Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, who had been born to Abraham, playing with Isaac. And she says, cast her out. It is an incredibly difficult story. Abraham, I imagine, I hope, I pray, is torn between his duty to his wife and his love for Hagar and Ishmael. Also his family. In the end, Hagar and Ishmael are sent into the wilderness with only bread and water. When the provisions run out, Hagar cannot help to see, she cannot bear to see her son die. And so she leaves him under a bush and she begins to cry. And then comes an extraordinary verse in the Torah, Vayishma Elohim et kol ha'na'ar, that God heard the cry of the child. The Torah reminds us, even as Isaac's covenantal line continues, Ishmael's life still matters. His suffering is real. His cry is heard by God. Well, that is our challenge today. We are a people fighting for our survival in the wake of October 7th. We carry the pain of the hostages still held in captivity, the anguish of their families, the exhaustion of reservists and their loved ones, the trauma of rockets and stabbings and bombs dropped on our cities. We carry the grief of a people who feel surrounded on all sides, on many fronts. And at the same time, we cannot turn our backs on the cries of the innocent children of Gaza. We know the cruelty of Hamas, how they embed themselves amongst the vulnerable, how they use civilians as shields. We don't know the path. We don't have a roadmap for uprooting terror without harming innocents. But the Torah says, don't forget their cries too. As I was writing this sermon, I received a call from my daughter, Mia, who serves in an interesting unit in Israel. She serves when she's not at work, when she goes into the army base. She serves in a unit that is responsible for relations with Jordan. You know that Jordan is a very complicated Arab country. She called me and she said to me that this is the first time her unit had ever lost anyone. They're a diplomatic unit. Oren Hershko was inspecting aid trucks at the Allenby crossing between Jordan and Israel. 20-year-old soldier, trained to defend and to protect, also understood the need to get aid to those in need. And the driver of the truck opened fire, killing him and his commander, when his only job was to inspect the truck to make sure that it had aid in it. Oren's story captures the very heart of our dilemma. How do we protect ourselves from mortal threats while refusing to ignore the suffering of others? Oren's tragic death makes the tension even more searingly real. Oren's life and his service are a painful modern echo of the Torah's reminder. Both Isaac and Ishmael matter. Both lives cry out to God. Oren died holding an impossible balance. And we're left with the sacred responsibility to carry it forward. It's not coincidental that today's Torah reading tells of two nations being born. Ours through Isaac and our half-brothers through Ishmael. As God says to Abraham, "But I'll also make a great nation of your son of the slave woman, for he too is your offspring." That's a painful truth. Our survival as Jews cannot come at the denial of another people's humanity. We may be at war with Hamas, but we cannot erase the cries of the children. But let me be absolutely clear. Our compassion is not a justification for our existence. We don't feed the hungry. We don't comfort the grieving. We don't cry out against suffering in order to gain approval from other nations. We don't do it because we want them to let us live. We do it because we have every right to exist, and that's what it means to be Jewish, to live holy, to live powerfully in the mitzvot that God has commanded us. We do it because this is who we are, because we're Jews, and because God commands us to. And that's what the world so often forgets, denies to see. We, as American Jews, have become the eighth front on this war in Gaza, or Lebanon, or Yemen. It's the accusations hurled at Israel and Jews everywhere that we're guilty of genocide, that our existence is illegitimate, that we're fair game. We're not. We have every right to exist. When Israel is accused of being the worst evil on earth, then every Jew, everywhere, anywhere, becomes a target. We feel it in our offices, we feel it in our campuses, we feel it in our neighborhoods, we feel it in our workplaces. We know where such dehumanization leads. So let me be clear. After October 7th, after the Holocaust, after every pogrom we've ever experienced, I need to say it without any confusion, we have every right to exist without fear. We need to be able to live in a world in which we don't need guards at our doors. We have to hold both truths at the same time. The Jewish existence needs no justification. We exist because we, too, were created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. That's enough. And, at the same time, our compassion for the suffering of others is not a condition of our survival. It's the way we must live in this world, even in war, even when our pain is raw. As we stand here on the high holidays, we're called to hold contradictions, to weep for our losses and still hear the cries of others, to strengthen our defenses and still soften our hearts, to demand justice and still practice compassion. And so I pray, may we never forget that God hears the cry of the young ones. Vayishma Adonai, Vayishma Elohim et kol ha'na'ar. God heard the cry of the child, both ours and theirs. And may we, created in the image of God, strive to live with the same compassion, not to prove our worth, not to justify our survival, because that is who we are. Gemar Chatima Tova. Shana Tova. We continue on page 123. Please rise.